So
We'll just have all that.
do this in thirds. You know, it can be a little bit more or less. It doesn't have to be exactly. Watching, Renzo? You can do this? Everybody's doing this themselves. Come on over. Okay, what you want to do is try to keep the dough in one piece. This is a little sticky and it's a little soft, so I'm going to fold it over. It's going to make it easier to get out of there. And also give it a little more strength as I'm rolling it. They're going to feel a little soft, a little sticky, a little hard to work with. As we roll them and fold them, what are we developing? Gluten. So they're going to get tougher. Okay. The softer dough is actually going to make a much nicer pastry. It is just a little more challenging to work with. Okay. I have a vaguely rectangular shaped piece of dough here. Now, what I'm going to do is just put my butter down and fold the dough over. Make like a butter sandwich. So I need the butter. The butter's this size. The dough needs to be the same width, but twice as long. Okay, so it really doesn't need to be much wider, if at all. Just sort of make it the same width. It's got to be a little bit longer though. And that's it. Notice how long it took me to roll that out?
2 seconds.
I wasn't rolling for 5-10 minutes. I wasn't making a piece of dough this big. Okay? I just looked, made it this size. If you need to scrunch it back a little, you can scrunch it back a little. And that's as big as I get my dough. Okay, don't make a big, huge piece of dough. Butter's going on here. And if you feel the butter, it should feel kind of like the dough. This dough's a little bit soft, but it's okay.
Take a bite of
Butter
that.
sandwich here.
We're each making our own butter.
Each person's making their own dough. Okay, so everybody's pounding out their own butter, making their own dough. Use my rolling pin to sort of lock it by pressing straight down across the dough. Now each time I roll this dough out, I want to roll it the opposite direction. So the last time I rolled it long this way, now I want to turn it so I can roll it long this way. Okay, because you're going to pull the gluten as you're rolling it out. Pull the gluten as you roll it, and then you roll it the same way, and you roll it the same way, you're going to break all the gluten strands. Okay, so you need to turn it each time so that the gluten sort of gets a break and you pull it the other way. Okay? So our first turn is going to be what we call a three-fold or a tri-fold. Basically, I'm going to fold it in thirds. Okay, keeping it nice and rectangular. Rolling towards the corner if I need to make a corner. Okay. Bringing it back with my hand if I need to. Rolling it out to approximately 3 times as long as it is wide. folds at the same time, one right after the other, and then it goes into the freezer. Unless our freezer is 60 degrees, in which case it doesn't help much, so we put it into the fridge. Okay, so we'll just check the temperature. Make sure you have enough flour. You don't want, a ton of excess flour to get into the dough because it's gonna make the dough dry, but you don't want it to stick to the table. Okay, if it sticks to the table, you're gonna be miserable. You make everyone around you miserable. Okay, so make sure it doesn't stick to the table. Now, the second fold I'm gonna do is a 4-fold. So how many times long do you think I want it this time?
4.
4 times, as long as it is wide. Maybe it's a bit longer. Okay, you can see my butter in here is breaking, right?
Good or bad?
That's bad, because my butter was very cold and my dough is very soft. It's not the end of the world, it's just not ideal. They're still going to taste delicious. Okay, again, nice and rectangular. Keep it even. Okay, so that when we fold it, we get really uniform folds. Okay, we want everything lined up really nice and neat. Now, for a 4-fold, you would think you would fold the 2 sides to the middle and then fold one over the other, right? If you do that, where these 2 sides came together is going to be on one side and it's going to shift as you fold it in half. Okay, so what I like to do is just fold it a little bit over here, bring this other side over to meet it, cut this off because I didn't get much butter in the edge. Okay, nicely lined up here, nicely lined up here. Okay, now I can fold this over in half and that seam stays put. So I have my 4 layers throughout. Okay, does that make sense? Now that I've done 2 folds, I'm going to wrap it in plastic. I'm going to put it into the freezer for at least an hour. Okay, so probably this would be the last thing we do after we come back from dinner. Okay, if we eat dinner today, we're supposed to, right? It's Tuesday, and Wednesday's the day we don't eat. Okay, so wrap in plastic, let it rest for about an hour, and then after we come up from dinner, then we'll roll out the last fold, which is going to be a 3-fold. Okay, so what are the type and number of folds for a croissant or a Danish dough?
3-fold.
3-fold, and then 4-fold, then 3-fold.